Okay, welcome in everybody. Today we are introducing Module 3. We're doing a deep dive, and this is a completely different aspect of the recognition method from what we've covered so far. And today we'll be covering the Transformation Fingerprint, which will make a lot more sense coming up here in a little while. So welcome to the module. The Transformation Fingerprint is going to be what fundamentally differentiates you in your coaching space. So up to now, we've learned how to create immediate recognition, getting that alignment with the perfect prospects that we can help. So now you'll discover how to position that unique transformation that only you can facilitate. And this is what I call your transformation fingerprint. So by the end of this module, you'll have a crystal clear idea on the specific identity shift that only you can create, positioning you as the irreplaceable rather than the interchangeable. So it's very, very powerful. So let me switch into this mode and we can cover a few topics first. Okay, perfect. So the identity decision revolution is one of the things that I like to cover. It's why identity outshines everything. Most coaches compete on features, which is just what they offer. If I use the example of a vacuum really frequently, like the features are, it's got a 4-foot hose and it disconnects here and it's bagless and it doesn't tangle. They're all great features, but those aren't the reason that we buy anything. And so the next level up is what we call benefits. And this is where a lot of people focus their marketing, is what it does for the client. So this will help you find peace, or this will allow you to make money, or it will improve your relationships so that there's less fighting or less breaking up and making up and all this. Or even emotions also get involved, like how it feels, like I mentioned with peace, or just to discover happiness and discover relief and things like that. But there is a much deeper level of human decision making that eliminates all competition. So when somebody makes an identity-based decision, they're not just choosing what to buy, they're choosing who they're going to become by buying that particular thing. So here's an example. The feature level marketing would say something like, I offer you 12 weekly coaching sessions. It's just a feature. The identity or the benefit level says you'll gain confidence and clarity, which is great. That's powerful. That might make some sales. The identity level says you'll transform from hidden expert to in-demand authority. And that is powerful, because then they're not just, that kind of also assumes all the rest are going to happen. Transformation will happen because of coaching sessions, and they'll gain confidence because now they're an in-demand authority. So the identity decision override is when you transform, when your transformation connects to someone's desired identity, price objections disappear, comparison shopping stops, and competitors become irrelevant. So there's psychology behind this too. Our identity forms from a lot of different sources. I've just listed a few. I'm sure there's more. Same with the reinforcement mechanisms. Personal experiences, what meaning we create around those experiences, social feedback, patterns we recognize, people we look up to, and our internal dialogue that helps reinforce all of these identity ideas. If you're interested in what an identity idea is, listen for people saying I am statements. If they say I am angry, or I am worthless, or I'm so stupid, or I'm excited, those are identity statements because they're saying I am this. And so that internal narrative becomes really, really powerful in helping to elicit new identities as well. So then we also have reinforcement mechanisms. Excuse me. Consistent behaviors that align with that self-concept of identity. Environmental cues that support that identity. Community acceptance and belonging. We like to be with like kind. So the idea of misery loves company, success breeds success. If you hang around successful circles, you become more successful. That type of idea. And of course, achievement of goals that are aligned with the identity. So your role as a coach is not just solving problems, but actually facilitating an evolution of identity. And I mentioned here, if you don't already do this, you must consider starting this, because this is what will set you aside from just being average and getting lost in the school of fish. And what you want to do is you want to stand out. You want to be the big fish that all the other little fish get away from, that draws everybody's attention to that big fish. So what makes a transformation fingerprint unique? Most coaches describe transformation really generally. You get to go from stuck to unstuck. And they have no real idea why they're saying this. They're just trying to talk about how they're going to help change people's lives. I would say there's a confusion and then a lack of specificity around what they're talking about. From stressed to peaceful, from struggling to successful. Now, these all sound great. They sound okay. And if I'm stressed and you're promising peaceful, I might listen a little bit longer, but I also might go, yeah, it doesn't sound, I don't believe it. It depends on where I'm at. So to work better, we create a transformation fingerprint specific identity shift that only you can create. It's going to be very specific. And it's based on your unique combination of expertise and experience, and then your unique approach. It's literally impossible for competitors to replicate this, and especially authentically. They can try to copy and try to mimic, but most people will see through inauthenticity. And so it also makes you immediately recognizable to ideal clients. So there's 3 dimensions of your fingerprint. The first dimension is the from identity, which is the current state of your prospects. It's not just their situation, but it's who they believe they are in that situation. Like, they are struggling, they are not good, they're not important, like nobody cares about them, all of these type of things. So the generic statement is struggling entrepreneurs. That's speaking directly to an identity. But your fingerprint is going to say something like brilliant strategists trapped in constant execution mode. So another example is something like overwhelmed coaches. But your fingerprint is going to say transformation experts whose depth makes them invisible to the market. I'm using examples that I've used in my own past. If you say something like, there's a lot of struggling entrepreneurs out there, you get crickets in your content and people don't want to talk. Like, it doesn't ring true with them. If you say, I know you're probably a brilliant strategist, but you're trapped in constant execution mode. First off, you're kind of feeding into their ego, calling them brilliant. But it's also a statement that a lot of people don't hear frequently. And it'll make them question. It'll make them dive in internally and go like, am I trapped in execution mode? I kind of am. Yeah. And so they listen. It perks up their ears because it's specific. It resonates more with people. The second dimension of your fingerprint is the to identity. So the first one is the from. That's their current state. The to is their desired state. This is just NLP, by the way, used instead of for working with problems and traumas and things like that. It's working for communicating at a better quality. So you're not just talking about what they want, which is what most people try to speak to. You're talking about who they want to become by solving the problems that they have. So the generic one would say you get to become a successful business owner, which sounds great, but it's like, I don't know what that entails. It's not super powerful to hear. The fingerprint would say a sought after authority whose expertise speaks for itself. That rings much more powerfully and really hits home much better. The generic one would speak to getting to become a confident coach, which a lot of people would already go like, I'm already confident. I'm already a confident coach. And the fingerprint would say magnetic expert. You get to become like a magnetic expert who attracts ideal clients through authentic positioning. So if people don't know quite what authentic positioning is, but it sounds amazing to be magnetic and be able to attract my ideal clients, that's something much more powerful. So the from identity, the to identity, and then the third dimension is the through process, which is your unique method that only you can do. How you facilitate the identity shift in your specific way that is unique and completely different from anybody else. This could include your specific approach, whether it's psychology based or somatic or strategic or tactical or all the above. This would include your personal journey and your specific insights that you've discovered. It would also include your specific frameworks that you have developed and tools that you've found not only useful, but maybe even tools that you've specifically created. And it's based on your values and your principles. All of this is speaking very authentically, and it rings as a confident expert who knows what they're talking about and has an approach different from everybody else. Because if you've got something that's new and different, and sounds unique to anything that anybody else has already tried, then they're much more likely to give your methodology a try. So let's talk about discovering your specific fingerprint. The first thing you got to do, step one, is you got to look at some identity. And the first exercise that I have is the identity journey map. So if you think about, we're going to map out your last 5 clients. If you haven't had clients yet, think of 5 different people. You can even imagine them. That's absolutely okay. And then when you get a client, take away one of the imaginary ones and put a real client and their journey into this journey map. So for one person, start with one person, but you're going to repeat this 5 times for your 5 ideal clients. Who they were when they started working with you, like their current state. This is that first dimension of their current state. Who were they when they started working with you? How did they see themselves? What identity did they claim or resist? What role did they play in their industry or in their life? And what internal narrative drove their decisions? So you really want to have this mapped out. Answer these really deeply, really specifically, and build them up so you have a very good idea of that person's, how they see themselves, what they're saying to themselves that drives their decisions, what role they believe they play, and who they claim to be. Those are very powerful. Then you're going to ask these questions about that same person, who they get to become through working with you. How does their self-perception differ now? So this is easy if you've already had clients, because now you can evaluate how their self-perception was now. After working with you, what changes did they notice? How do they see themselves? What role do they play now? And how has their internal narrative shifted? Same thing, answer very specifically with detail and get deep. So you have a very deep understanding of that shift. Because then you can see on the seesaw from the one end where they started to boom, the other end where they end. How significant was the change? That's their transformation. And how powerful. And then you ask questions about your process. What were you able to address that others missed? What was your specific approach or insight that helped create this transformation? How did your method differ from what they'd tried before? And the last question there is a big one. What made the difference for them? What did they recognize that actually made that change occur that did not happen in other methods? So that's step one. Yes, I know it takes a little bit of time. If you don't have clients, it takes some major thought process but it'll get you thinking in the right direction. And if you repeat that step one 3 to 5 times, I would suggest doing 5, but 3 minimum, you will have a really good beginning to your transformation fingerprint. So step 2 is looking at the pattern recognition process. So we're going to look across all these ideal clients, and we're going to look at what's the common from identity elements. What are the shared beliefs between each of these? What were the similar internal conflicts and struggles that they dealt with? What is the recurring identity attachments or resistances that they have. Like, what are they holding on to? What self vision, perception of themselves are they holding on to or resisting? What's the pattern? And patterns in how they show up. Are they weak? Are they inconsistent? Are they unconfident? Any type of pattern. Are they negative? Are they low energy? Are they hopeless? Have they given up? These types of things, speaking to their identity. And then we're also looking for patterns of their common patterns that will connect their desired identities. Consistent shifts in self-perception, new ways of being that they embodied. Like, suddenly they see themselves as being a helper who's able to make other people's lives better, help other people's lives become better. And their shift in being is maybe because they have this confidence now and deep understanding of how they can actually help people. So there's this big shift, especially if they came in inconsistent and kind of hopeless and feeling like nobody cared about what they can do and how they can help. Nobody seemed to see value in it. But now they know with clarity and confidence, there's a big shift. So you want to find common elements of that. And you're also going to look about your unique through elements, what helped them through this transformation. Specific insights that only you can provide. Methodological approaches that set you apart. Personal experiences that inform your guidance. And values or principles that guide your process. So if you find patterns of your principles that help each of those individuals, you're going to focus on those principles, your values, your experiences that seem to ring most true with those people. Those are the experiences that you're going to talk about. And if you have an approach that works extremely well with everybody, you're going to focus on that approach. The third step is your fingerprint articulation, putting it all together so that you have a powerful transformation statement, your fingerprint. The framework looks just like this. I transform whatever that from identity is into whatever their desired identity is through whatever your unique approach or insight is. So here's examples. Say you're a business coach. I transform brilliant strategists trapped in constant execution mode into sought-after authorities whose expertise drives their business growth. Here's one for marketing experts. I transform transformation experts whose depth makes them invisible into magnetic authorities who attract premium clients through psychological positioning. For leadership coaches, I transform capable leaders drowning in complexity into visionary guides who create clarity and direction for their teams. These two don't have through. Right? We'll call it like and that lets them know it's unique because it's mine. I created it, and it sounds extremely interesting and unique. that it's a method or an exercise or something that's going to create a transformation. So I would say put this together, get an idea, write down your transformation fingerprint using that framework, and then read it out loud and see how it resonates. Even give it a day or two and then read it out loud and go like, it could be more powerful. And then just go back through and make it more powerful. So there are 3 levels of transformation specificity. The first one is functional transformation, what changes in their external circumstances. An example of this is talking about from inconsistent income to predictable revenue. It's powerful. Like, people don't want inconsistent income, they want predictable revenue. The second level is emotional transformation, what shifts in their internal experience. And this talks about like from marketing anxiety to confident visibility. So they're changing from anxious to confident. That's a little more powerful. And then the third level is identity, who they become in their own mind and who they believe others see them as. From invisible expert to recognized authority. Your fingerprint, the idea, the highest fingerprint is going to be operating at level 3. You want this identity transformation. So you want to think about who that person, we're thinking about labels. How does that person label themselves? I am, what's their label? And I wish I were, what's the label they desire, that they want to have? And then how can you help them achieve that? So the trick with this identity marketing is that you have to be able to create that transformation. You can only work with people who you can create that identity change. So often it doesn't matter where they start, but if you can create the desired identity, and then it's just a matter of solving the problem that's going to shift their identity into the new desired state. Now we're going to do a quick exercise for discovering how to make your methodology as unique as possible. You want to be more unique and different from everybody else. One of my mentors always talks about zigging while everybody else is zagging, and that's exactly what this is. If everybody is going to the trend and they're flowing that way, we're going off to the other direction. And that goes well with my rebellious nature anyhow. I like doing what other people aren't. So this is important because if you want to stand out, you've got to step away from the crowd. It takes courage and it takes confidence and some faith. But you want to step out away from the crowd. You don't want to be blending in with everybody and just being another little fish among all the other school of fish in the pond. You want to be recognizable, like, oh, there's that one. So these are questions to help discover ways that you could talk about your method, your through method, or your approach that will make it unique. Could another coach authentically claim the same transformation? That's a big one. Now, the answer might be yes. Like, I'm an NLP practitioner and trainer. So, like, can another coach claim the transformation? Yes, like Tony Robbins could. There's a lot of people that can. More and more people getting certified in NLP every day. What do I have that NLP people don't? Well, I also do hypnosis. I'm a hypnosis trainer. I've also got public speaking background. I've also got 35 years of daily meditation. So I've got a unique uh, empathy approach. I also have a martial arts background. So I have extreme confidence and I have life experience. So young people aren't going to be, and I've got different experiences. I've been in a lot of the shoes of the people that I work with in trauma and things like that. So the more I build on that type of thing, the more unique my approach gets, the more unique my methodology gets. Now, people can't claim that type of approach because they don't have my experience, they don't have my background. So that's how you get yours to be more and more unique, is by adding your values, your experience, your principles, your backgrounds, tools that you've created, how you've mixed things. Can people make a chocolate cake? Yeah, hundreds, thousands of people, millions can make a chocolate cake. Can you add ingredients to it to make it unique and different? Yep, that's the idea. What specific experience or insights make me uniquely qualified to facilitate this shift? What would someone lose by working with a competitor instead of me? That's a powerful question, because if you start speaking to that, they understand, like, this person's different. I don't want to lose that by working with somebody else. What aspects of this transformation can only happen through my specific approach? Those are all super powerful to ask and discover what answers come to you when you ask these. So you refine it, you drill deeper, like I was mentioning. You also have the personal integration factor of reflection questions that make this more authentic to you. What identity transformation have you personally experienced? If you are selling an identity transformation that you have specifically gone through, you're an expert. And you just have to refine your method and approach and learn how to speak about it. But you will be an automatic leader having already gone through it. The people dealing with that current identity that's struggling will see you as an inspiration. How does your approach reflect your own evolution? What insights emerged from your unique challenges or background? How does facilitating this transformation align with your deeper purpose? Those are all very impactful things to speak about in your message. And then there's also authenticity indicators. You can tell your own story of transformation, how the approach feels natural and effortless. You can convey how passionate you are about that specific identity shift that you experienced, that you help others with, and how life has been since, and who you got to become and what it's like, how it feels. So it's really, really, it takes time to flesh all this out, but I highly suggest it, because when you have a message from this, then you've got actual heart-centered, clear communication that's authentic and powerful, and you don't come off as salesy. You don't come off as gimmicky. You don't come off as the new trend or anything like that, which so much of social media is. It's either high pressure amateur BS that people are just throwing links and talking and just pressure, or it's gimmicky, trendy, inauthentic, average crap that just like is terrible. So don't do that. Do the other. Okay. Integrating your fingerprint. We're going to weave the 4-part validation formula, that was module 2, into this for an enhanced validation structure. So remember the specific moment, the internal dialogue, the contrast point, and the normalization is going to also talk about the from identity, the to identity, and then introduce the through methodology. Here's an example. You know that moment when you check your calendar and see no client calls scheduled. That's maybe what people write if they're talking to business coaches. But the enhanced version is that moment when you check your calendar and see no client calls scheduled, despite being the kind of expert whose insights could transform entire businesses. So you want to create content themes. I have a secret for you about content. I don't create a wide variety of content. I create 5 or 6 messages that are really, really impactful, that speak directly to my ideal client. I'm speaking to a specific current identity about gaining a specific desired identity. I talk about my method, but I've only got about 5 pieces of content, and I'll change them around little by little here and there, but I've got about 5 pieces of content, and I just put them out in long enough frequency that people aren't going like, this is just rehashed. The same message was put out 2 days ago. No, maybe 2 weeks ago. But it sounds different. People get so much content. So there isn't a need to make so much content. The rest of the content I do is quick and easy, and I'm just talking about a specific thing that comes up that I want to address, or I'm just letting a little bit of insight about my lifestyle and who I am and what I believe in and this and that. And I'm just connecting with people. So I have these content themes though, and they're all talking about the validation process, like 5 specific moments, 5 internal dialogues, a couple of contrast points, and a normalization statement. A from identity, a to identity, and I might have a couple of those if I can have powerful enough identity shifts that I can help with. As a beginner, you only need one struggling identity and one powerful desired identity, and then your method to change to help facilitate that transformation. Then I'll switch the specific moment, but I'll use the same internal dialogue. I'll use the same contrast point, and I'll use the appropriate normalization statement. Or I'll keep the specific moment and switch the internal dialogue. That's how I do content. So take your time and flesh all of this out. Then you can create 4, 5, 6 pieces of content. You can create 10 pieces of content and just mix and match some of the internal dialogue, or keep the internal dialogue and switch the specific moment of struggle. That's a content hack for everybody. So I call these content themes, or I call them content banks. So the from identity, validate their current identity struggles, recognize their hidden expertise, normalize the gap between the two, who they are and how they're seen. The two identity is the vision of their evolved identity, who they get to become. Examples of others who've made this shift. You can include yourself in that. Specific behaviors and mindsets of the two identity. And then your through process, your unique methodology or approach, insights that facilitate this specific transformation, and why your method works, even though they've tried a lot of other things. Your method will work when others don't. So here's, excuse me, coffee time. Here is a ton of different frameworks to help integrate this into your ecosystem. If you've got a bio in Facebook or Instagram or wherever, use this framework. I help identity transform into identity through my approach. You can introduce content by talking specifically to identities for these kind of people, like that's identity, to ready to become That gets people's attention because they go, yep, that's me. Oh, that is what I want to become. Awesome. They'll read the rest. They'll at least read the next line, which most people won't do. So that's a little bit of a copy advice, is every line needs to stimulate the person to read the next line. That's copywriting. Your offer descriptions, the impact method transforms coaches struggling to be seen, even though they know that their approach can change people's lives, into the in-demand expert they've always dreamed of being, using the specific tools, psychology-based alignment, and messaging from the tools of NLP. That's powerful, okay? You can talk about client success stories, but when you do that, you want to focus on identity shifts rather than just functional outcomes. Like, if you talk about identity shifts, it will catch people's attention much more. Here's how the cascade of your positioning works. Industry is level 1, where you fit in the landscape of coaches. Your niche positioning, the specific transformation category you own. The 3 main niches: health, wealth, and relationships. I don't focus on niche. I don't think about niche. I don't tell people like I'm a business coach, because the transformation that I help people with is also health and wellness. And the transformation that I help people with in business is also helps improve their relationships. So what's my niche? I don't focus on stuff like that. What I focus on is my fingerprint, the unique identity shift. Only I facilitate. And if you focus on this, these two become much less important to think about. So you can be a business coach. You can talk about marketing for coaches, or you can talk about transforming invisible experts into magnetic authorities through psychology-based positioning. Here's a little blurb on how you eliminate competition, because the pitfall of marketing the way everybody else is marketing is that you are that small fish in the pond of small fishes. All of you look the same, all of you sound the same, none of you stand out. you're all competing with each other. If you're making the mistake of modeling a successful coach and trying to sound like them because their marketing must be advanced and must be super good because they're having all this success, what happens is you sound like a watered down version of them. And when people read that marketing, they choose the more successful coach. So you've put yourself into competition with the most successful coaches, which you don't want to do either because you'll lose. Then people get in this weird hole, like what I'll do is I'll charge half the price. That's not working. I'll half my price again. And it just looks like a weaker and weaker and weaker position. So don't do that either. When your transformation fingerprint's clear, prospects will stop comparing you to other coaches. Your price becomes secondary because they're excited about the identity change, the transformation from the invisible coach to the in-demand expert. Referrals happen, and those people who are referred to you will come to you talking about your specific language that you've shared with other people. That word of mouth becomes extremely powerful. And competitors who think you've struck gold and have figured something out will try to sound like you, but they'll be a watered down version of you, and they will not be able to replicate your authenticity. So this is how it's your fingerprint. It can only be you. And then when your fingerprint is positioned well and it's powerful, you'll have people commenting, "You're exactly what I was looking for. It's like you read my mind. You were speaking directly to me. Like the timing was perfect because somehow you knew exactly where I was." You'll also recognize competitors will start using your language. And you'll be able to charge premium prices, and prospects will buy it because it's powerful and they want what you are able to help them with. So case study, Joan was positioned as a mindset coach for entrepreneurs and competed with hundreds of similar coaches, especially in the Bay Area. Like you can't walk down the street without bumping into 5 coaches in a block. Struggled with pricing, which is a very common thing. Positioning was terrible, average at best. And then the generic marketing, just supposed to be this success coach, mindset coach for entrepreneurs. But in the beginning was like, sounded meek and sounded very like not convincing, not who I want to put in front of my group of business people to create leadership and confidence. So the fingerprint discovery went from successful entrepreneurs trapped in imposter syndrome to confident leaders who own their expertise through identity archaeology that uncovers their authentic authority. Now that sounds a lot better. And after implementing that fingerprint, all of a sudden, unique positioning, they had this identity archaeology that sounded interesting. Nobody else is doing anything like that. And authority sounds incredible. Authentic authority is even better because it doesn't come across as disgenuine or fake. Premium pricing suddenly. Ideal clients saying like, this sounds something we've been exactly looking for. So it's very powerful. So use this from all of the exercises above that we've done. Use this to develop your own fingerprint. Who they are now, who they become, your unique approach, and use that to create your statement Give it a day or two, come back to it, read it out loud, see if it feels powerful, if it rings deeper, and then we're going to test it. So the initial test is when you read it out loud, does it feel uniquely mine? Would ideal clients immediately recognize themselves in the from identity? That's important. You want people to immediately recognize themselves. Does the to identity create excitement? Like, oh, that is what I want. I'm struggling with this. I don't know how to bridge from here to there. And is my through process something only I can authentically offer? Does this positioning eliminate rather than create competition? And then it can evolve. Your fingerprint can evolve. Make it more authentic, more immediate recognition with ideal clients, eliminate competition with uniqueness, allow for the natural evolution as you grow, align your fingerprint with deeper mission, deeper sense of values, different things like that. Coming up in the next module, we're going to talk about implementing all of this and integrating it. I'm going to give you a 30-day recognition method, intensive implementation setup system where we put everything together and complete that system. We're going to integrate your validation formula with your transformation fingerprint, create your signature content themes and messaging, developing your natural invitation and conversion process, and build your 30-day implementation roadmap. So now you've got two powerful tools, the 4-part validation and the transformation fingerprint. We'll show you how to weave the two together and complete that transformation. Messaging into your business. So your job in the next 48 hours is to complete your transformation fingerprint using all of these frameworks and exercises above, and create one piece of content that integrates your validation formula with your fingerprint. Start practicing now. The way you get good at this is practicing. So put it out there. And then pay very close attention to how the response differs from different transformation language. And then document how prospects respond differently when you position the unique shift that only you can facilitate. And I believe that is everything that I have for you today. So good luck. Feel free for the next module. Bring your questions, either upload them or message me with your questions. And of course, putting this all together, it's going to take that 30 days. It's going to be a challenge. You want a challenge? This will be a challenge in the next 30 days to implement this all and get all your content set and ready to go. But it's going to change not just your business, but who you get to become. You're going to experience an identity shift from being that average little fish in the pond to getting to be one of those big fish that are off on their own that everybody's looking at. Something's different about that one, and it's kind of exciting. So that's where we're headed. I'll see you all in Module 4.